Hi, my name is Caitlin Holter. I am an officer with the City of Pierre Police Department, and I'm also a school resource officer here for the School Pierre District. I work with juveniles and kids during the school year, Monday through Friday, during the school days. And then during the summers, I'm actually an officer out on patrol, so I do patrol functions such as traffic stops and calls for service. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about why the drinking age should not be lowered from age 21. The first main point we're going to talk about is the effects of alcohol on the growing body. The second main point we're going to talk about is alcohol contributes to teen deaths. And the third main point I'm going to talk to you about today is underage drinking is a growing concern for parents and adults involved with kids. So, effects on the body. Did you know that the human brain is actually not fully developed until age 25? That kind of contradicts the fact that alcohol is legal at age 21. Most of us all know that alcohol affects the way the brain and body work. It constricts blood flow, causing less oxygen to the brain. It decreases coordination, loss of self-control, poor judgment, all of the above. The effects of alcohol on the growing body. As of 2006, Alcohol Alert did a study by the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. That proved that there was long-term effects on thinking and long-term thinking from underage drinking. So individuals that consumed alcohol prior to the age of 21, it was linked to having long-term thinking problems, along with liver issues as they grew older, and then growth, development and growth. That was caused by the imbalance of hormones as kids were growing. So the effect on the brain actually caused issues with the pituitary gland and the way that hormones were sent to the different portions of the body. So kids that chronically used alcohol throughout underage consumption, so under the age of 21, showed signs of stunted growth, not just mentally but actually physically. Due to age and growing, the consumption also can lead to hospitalization and death. This is because of the growing body. So an average human liver as an adult can process and equalize out metabolize the alcohol a lot faster than somebody who is younger who has a smaller liver. So the organs, when they're smaller, don't actually process and filter out what needs to be, so the alcohol stays in the system longer, causing more damage to the actual organs in the body. So as I argued in my first main point, the effects of alcohol are pretty severe on the growing body. So secondly, alcohol contributes to teen deaths. According to Alcohol Alert, the first study we just talked about, 5,000 deaths a year are contributed to alcohol-related drinking under the age of 21. 1,900 of those deaths are actually caused by kids that drink and drive. There's a pretty good chance that somebody in this room, or everyone in this room who is listening to this speech, knows somebody who's been affected by somebody who's drank under the age of 21. I know of 3 people I went to high school with that are no longer alive because they were drinking underage and caused accidents. With working with kids, I guess I can attest to they don't think past this far. They kind of have that I'm invincible feeling. Then you throw alcohol into the mix, and like we said, we talked earlier about poor judgment. So we throw in somebody who doesn't have the life experiences and only thinks this far. Their poor judgment kind of leads to things like death. If you think of 5,000 people per year, there's 1,200 kids in the Pierre School District this year. So that's almost 5 years worth of kids that we don't have in the U.S. alone. That's more than some populations of full towns in the state of South Dakota. So it's quite a few each year. And that's just underage drinking and driving. And that's anything from kids who maybe are in a car accident, or they've drank too much and they've gone to the hospital for alcohol poisoning and don't survive that, to brain damage who have to be taken off of life support because they can't come back from that alcohol poisoning. The reason I talk about death is because as a law enforcement officer, I've had to be that one with the chaplain to go to a parent's door and knock and say, I'm sorry to tell you, but your daughter or your son's not coming home. And it was alcohol related. I don't want anyone to have to ever go through that. I know that there's people that are probably listening to this speech now that have experienced that firsthand, or they know somebody that's experienced that, and that's probably the worst thing and worst part of my job is to tell a parent that a kid's not coming home. So in a review of my second main point, alcohol contributes to teen deaths. Like I said, it contributes to over 5,000 deaths a year, which is 5,000 more than it should be. So thirdly, alcohol is a growing concern for parents with teens. Like we talked about, you don't want to be that parent who gets that phone call or that knock on the door from law enforcement. An article published in the Annual Review of Public Health indicated that 6%, there's a 6% increase a year on injury or deaths related to underage alcohol consumption. So each year that number grows 6%. So 6% more next year from that 5,000 we just talked about. It's a growing concern. It's not something that just stays the same. It's not the same as what it was when I was in high school. It's not the same as what it was when you were underage. It's constantly growing. Well, with the more that it grows, the more chance it is that it's going to affect us directly, our kids, our community, our youth. It also showed in this study that the increase of self-admitted driving under the influence kids under the age went from 26.5% to 31.4%. So that's a huge jump in 1 year. So I believe that was like 2.3 million to 2.7 million or 2.8 million kids in college under the age of 21 admitted that yes, I drink and then I drive. Well, we all know that driving's dangerous in and of itself. You're not guaranteed to drive down the road and not get hit by another car, not crash your car. But now we're talking, now we've got loss of coordination, poor judgment, we're driving a car. So we're putting these kids at risk. And again, we talked about those life experiences and how kids only see this far ahead of them. So I don't know if you guys were like me in high school, but I had the Camaro. I didn't make a great choice, and sometimes I drove it a lot faster than I needed to sober. So can you imagine your loved one under the age of 21 under the influence of alcohol, losing that judgment or that coordination? Now they're driving a little bit faster. Puts them at more risk, and again, it kind of goes back to the death and the statistics there. In 2013, the U.S. Department of Health and Services article argued that binge drinking and addiction also come from the increased consumption underage. So it's been proven in studies that kids that drink under the age of 21, especially continuously, are more likely to binge drink in college, which can lead to health problems, if not death, and also long-lasting effects on alcohol addiction. When your body runs on something for so long, it feels like it needs it. It's kind of the addiction thing. Kids, the brain starts to depend on it. So when we talked earlier about how the brain depreciated in function or growth, if you throw alcohol in there, the brain starts to think that it can't function without alcohol. So you almost become dependent on it without even knowing it. It's easier and more susceptible to you underage to become dependent on alcohol because your brain is starting to figure out what it needs to grow. So the alcohol is something that triggers that for addiction. So in conclusion, as my third main point shows, teen consumption, it's on the rise and it's a growing concern for parents. First, we talked about the effects of alcohol on the growing body. Second, we talked about how alcohol contributes to teen deaths. And third, we talked about underage drinking and how it's a growing concern for adults and parents. Again, I want to stress that it's important that I don't have to go to somebody's door and knock on it in the middle of the night with our chaplain. Underage drinking is something I don't think that 21 should be lowered. So again, that's why that's why the alcohol age should not be lowered from 21.